The brain is like a computer, right? It remembers things that we do and it stores it. So if you're doing things financially that is working quite well, or you're setting up a savings plan and you're doing positive moves, the brain remembers those things and it reminds us that this is what we've done before and this is what we need to continue doing so we can get the rewards that we want to obviously make money and build wealth.
How can we break free from having that ceiling of what in terms of income and wealth that we think is possible?
How do you value yourself? What do you think you're worth? If you don't believe it's possible, it will never be possible for you. A lot of people are so more capable than they really think they are.
If you're not in control now, people automatically think for some reason when you make loads more money, you're now in more control.
No.
Can you talk about why that's not the case?
Personal finance and managing your personal finance is the foundation of being financially successful. When you see a 14-story building, the foundation of that building will be 14 stories down.
As people grow wealth, what traps do they need to avoid and what beliefs do they need to unlearn if they want true freedom, not just financial freedom? Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I'm your host, Atto. We have a special guest in the building, repeat guest actually. This was our third most watched video on the channel. So, I'm glad to have her back. I was told actually I should refer to you as Miss Norma. That's what somebody said in the comments of the first one. Miss Norma is a money management consultant, psychotherapist, author, and life coach with over 20 years experience in the financial sector and 17 years as a qualified psychotherapist. She bridges the world of money and mental health. Norma's worked with clients facing challenges from debt and financial stress to career pressure and domestic struggles, helping them transform both their finances and their well-being. Miss Norma, how are you doing today?
Great. Thank you for having me.
It's been a long time. It's been over a year now since we had, a conversation. Actually, I want to ask you, what was your reaction from our first episode that we did over a year ago?
It's just been amazing. I mean, that session went global. I had people from everywhere, from Africa to Italy, Spain, the Caribbean, reaching out to me. I had the BBC. It was just crazy. I just really didn't realize it would reach that broad and that far, and how it resonated with so many people.
Yeah.
That's what really touched me, how it really resonated me, talking about my story and my upbringing, our culture, my culture. It really did touch and resonate with so many people.
Yeah, it did. And, a lot of people, I think, really appreciated the fact that you were so vulnerable. Mm-hmm. So that's a plug for people to go and watch that episode. Very vulnerable, really sharing your story. And it's very inspiring too. So hopefully this episode can be as inspiring as well. So yeah, people, we've got a lot to unpack in this one as well. But for someone just getting to know you, how would you describe who you are and what you do?
Okay, so as you quite rightly said, I'm a money management consultant and a psychotherapist. I've written a book called Think Like a Bank, and that is my brand, which I'm building at the moment. I'm also a coach as well. So I combine all my areas of expertise working in the financial sector for over 20 years and as a psychotherapist now for 20 years, those two areas together to form my brand.
Yeah, amazing. Like I said, people go and definitely watch the first one because Norma did unpack a lot about her story, which we're not gonna, repeat completely here. We always like to make sure that each episode is a little bit different. So I wanted to know from you as well, right? When you think about your own money story and not just the numbers, how money made you feel? What belief or lesson do you wish everyone could learn from your journey?
I feel that everybody needs to know it's not what you have, it's what you do with what you have, right? Because some people can have so much money but not know what to do with it, and it feels like they've never got enough. And yet, I remember back when I was a single parent with 3 children, a mortgage to pay, a car to run, all on a part-time salary. I had an empty purse. That's a session in itself. After I bought all that we needed, my purse was always empty for over a decade. But yet I still had peace, because I felt successful. And what does success mean to people? I felt successful that I was able to meet all of my family needs. We didn't go without anything. So, and that was with the little I had. Now further on down the road, I'm in a better financial position and I still have that peace and happiness. Do you know what I mean? Just making, obviously I've got more money now, so I'm living a better lifestyle, but it's no different from when I didn't have much money. It's just wherever you are with what you've got, having that peace and making it work for you till its fullest potential.
Yeah, and we're going to talk a bit about financial peace as well, because I think it's very important, especially you've definitely had conversations with so many people around money, people who have a lot and then people who might not have a lot, and then seeing all those sort of interactions. So as I mentioned, you worked with people at every stage of wealth, from those drowning in debt to those with millions. Out of all those conversations, which ones have stayed with you the most? And what key themes did you notice about how people really think and feel about money?
I think what stayed with me the most, and I think it's a myth for a lot of people that have more money don't have money worries. And it was a common theme that the people that I've seen with quite high net worth, they have so much money worries because, they're living that lifestyle. They have that status. They have that image, and the pressure to keep that up. They have to be on it all the time. They can't afford to let the ball drop, because if the ball drops, everything falls to pot. How does that impact not only their world, their family's world, their children's world? Do you know what I mean? And they can't afford for that to happen. And so the fear that they have and anxiety about keeping everything above board, it's quite painful to see, actually.
That's interesting. Can we unpack that a little bit? Because I do have a section about, I don't want to completely, but I do have a section about that. So you said that people have the pressure of wanting to keep up appearances. Can you talk a little bit about what that's like and what they say to you in the conversation you have?
So, for yourself, if somebody's like, we see this person as, they've established, as it were. Well, what does that mean? Basically, they've got the house, got the car, they've got the good job, the children are in private school, the wife is like probably a stay-at-home wife and can shop and do whatever she wants to do. And so living that kind of lifestyle comes with, can't cost a lot of money. We know everything's going up, right? Just school fees alone. If you've got one child in a private school, that money per term, and if you've got more than one, how much does that actually cost? And so, a lot of times when I've seen clients and it's for them, it's like, it's really stressful for them because, they're working so hard at work, and yet by the end of the month, they can't really see where their money is. They're not tracking it for one, but they feel like their expenses are far outweighing now, especially with the cost of living and the mortgage gone up and all of that, far outweighing what they've got coming in. And so they're having to source other sources of incomes, work longer hours, always on that kind of hustle to make sure they've got enough coming in. That pressure, physically, mentally, it's just so overwhelming for so many people.
Yeah, gosh, it sounds like a bit of a trap, right? Like people are a bit of a trap.
It definitely is a trap. If they could step out of it, but even to think about, they couldn't even think about stepping out of it. They've just got to keep going.
Until what? Until
they drop.
Really?
Absolutely. They've got to keep going. For them, because they've got that lifestyle, the children have got that lifestyle. I think I spoke to you about it before, where there was one case where one of my clients, her parents were living abroad. They were living in Singapore, I think. And, her father was earning so much money that they was living. Singapore is quite expensive anyway to live. And they was earning so much money, and something happened with his job and they had to come back to the UK. She was living that life. The person that I'm seeing, she was living that lifestyle as well. And as a result of that, she had to come back to London, all had to come back to London, and the whole dynamics of their lifestyle changed. It was just a normal lifestyle, that to rent in just, a small house and all of that. And because she couldn't cope, that caused her to have psychosis.
Really?
Yeah, the stress, all of that she's lost, the loss. Wow. It's like, 'cause it's like you're having to grieve a loss. And, for some people, obviously grief takes time, but some people it does cause some mental health issues.
Yeah.
Same thing is grieving of that loss of lifestyle. That's how much it really did impact her.
Okay. So the loss of the lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're saying they grieve that. Okay. So that is definitely a real thing, because this is what's so
100%.
interesting, right? A lot of people will say that like money doesn't make you happy, but then I guess maybe there was an element of happiness or contentment with being able to live that lifestyle.
Absolutely.
But now that that's gone, it's like,
and status.
Yeah.
You was up there, now you're down here. Oh my gosh, look where I'm living. Is this my lifestyle? Do you know what I mean? She lost her friends and all of that. Obviously, she's had to leave.
Wow.
All of the whole situation was so overwhelming. And what was more overwhelming for her was she knew that they couldn't go back to that lifestyle.
okay, why not? Why couldn't they go back to that side?
Well, the dad's lost his job unless he
Okay.
was to get another opportunity.
Like that.
Do you know what I
Okay.
mean? And so as a result, she thought there'd be no hope. But as long as there's life, there's hope.
Yeah.
He could get an opportunity. But for her narrative to herself was, I've lost all of that. My whole life has changed. It was like a death for her.
That's crazy, because I do understand it. I do understand that perspective, and I just wonder as well, like, it's like a bit of reframing that has to happen.
Absolutely. And without therapy, do you know what I mean? Trying to reframe all that on your own is really, really difficult.
Yeah.
But she did, she obviously was suffering psychosis. She had to go into hospital. Do you know what I mean? I saw her after she'd been out of hospital, but she still had quite severe mental health issues.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gosh, that's incredible.
How sad is that?
That is sad, yeah. We're going to delve more into this. This is why you got to listen to the rest of the episode, because we've got a lot of these kind of conversations. So I wanted to talk about the psychology of making money, because I think that's quite important. Because I think all of this stuff there's a lot of mental aspects of it, right?
Yeah.
So you talked about obviously somebody like grieving loss, but there are also barriers when you're trying to even make more money, right? So my first question that I have, right, around this is, why do some people never take the leap into business or investing, while others, are happy to take on the risk and be a bit more reckless?
Sure. Well, it all boils down to risk adverse. How adverse are you in taking risk? Do you know what I mean? Some people don't think twice before that's a good idea, I'm going to do it. Other people sit down, analyze it, and, think about it, and before they actually make a decision. So it's an individual thing, because a couple can be, you can have your husband and wife. One could be really risk adverse, and another person could be, no, I think we should do it. Do you know what I mean? And so it really comes down to your own psychology of money. What do I mean by that? So the psychology of money is your beliefs, which influence your thoughts, and your thoughts, which influence your actions around budgeting, saving, spending, and making informed financial investments.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are your beliefs around budgeting? What are your beliefs around saving? What are your beliefs around investing? Some people think, it's too risky to invest. I'll just put my money in a bank and I feel safe.
Yeah.
Some people put their money in stocks and shares and are okay with that. Some people go to the next step. It just depends where you are and how comfortable you are with the money that you have.
Okay, cool. And for somebody, right, how does that risk appetite kind of develop? So you mentioned like it's like based on your
psychology of money. Yeah.
Of money. How's that developed?
Well, I use myself. So I invested in some crypto.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did we talk about that in the first episode? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
But anyway, I lost my money.
Okay.
Yeah. They said you shouldn't invest anything you can lose. Who can afford to lose 1 penny?
Yeah.
But I did. So I invested in crypto, and if it had gone right, I would have been able to pay off all my mortgages.
Yeah, okay.
It didn't. And that was a lesson for me, because I didn't do my due diligence as much as I should have done.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? And so I lost my money. That was a risk. When I say to people about investing, and I ask people how much is that going to cost you? It's not just financially, it's emotionally, physically. How does it affect your relationship? Because if you're in a relationship with somebody, you need to discuss that with them. If it's a lot of money, do you know what I mean? How's it going to affect you physically? Is it going to keep you up nights? You know what I mean? You can't sleep, you can't eat. You got your headache, you're stressed, and and emotionally, do you know what I mean? It's causing anxiety and stress. How much is it going to cost cost you. Before you take that risk, you need to sit down, the Bible says, and count the cost before you build a house.
Okay. And where do you think that, for you, where did that risk appetite come from, do you think?
I think as I'm growing as a person, you know, obviously I want to live a better quality of life. I want to make sure I leave a legacy for my children. In order to do that, I have to step out and take some risk in order to, you know, now I'm doing my due diligence for sure. In order for me to, you know, expand my portfolio and to, you know, create wealth.
Yeah. Do you think there's such thing as a healthy risk mindset, and how can people develop it?
Yeah, there is a healthy risk mindset. And I think, as I said, doing your due diligence. Do you know what I mean? You either randomly do it, and that's not a healthy risk mindset, or doing your due diligence as best as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? And as you're doing it, I mean, you know, you win, you lose, you win, you lose. And as long as it's not impacting you, to, you know, as long as you can still maintain your standard of living when you're taking these risks, because these are the things you have to take into consideration. You ain't going to invest into something that could, then you can't pay your mortgage next month. That don't make no sense.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's all those things that you look at before, you know, how's it going to affect your, you know, your monthly outgoings? Can you still meet your monthly needs? How's it going to affect you? How's it going to affect your family? All of those things you need to take into consideration.
Yeah.
And if you are doing that, taking those things into consideration, that's helping you build a healthier mindset towards risk, and understanding what the consequence of each risk that you're taking is going to be.
Yeah. I think it's important for people to understand, because I feel like a lot of people can't accept that there's an element of risk that you have to do to be able to make more than the average.
Yes,
let's say more
absolutely.
than the savings, like what's in the savings account. You have to just, it's up to you if you want to be comfortable with it or not, but if you want to make more than what the average is, then you have to take an element of risk. And, you know, I think people have to decide if they're comfortable with doing that. Obviously, like how risky it is depends on like what you go into. There's some stuff like you say, crypto, where it's like, it is a high chance that you ain't getting the money back, right? Whereas there's stuff like, I don't know,
bricks and mortar, a house.
Bricks and mortar is a bit more stable.
Absolutely.
Maybe the return isn't crazy. Yes, some people can lose, but it's not like hopefully you don't lose major as well. So can you explain how the brain's reward system helps or hurts us in staying consistent with money-making efforts? Yeah.
So the brain reward system, it influences us to make repeated habits and actions, right? So for example, critical survival, the brain reward system, the pathway, influences us to make decisions about our food, our shelter. Do you know what I mean? Our basic needs. So within finance now and making money, the brain reward system pathway, it's about making the right decisions for making money. So like I said, you know, if you're going to invest in a property or whatever, anything that brings you pleasure, anything that you do and you do it well and you get a good outcome, the brain reward system, it sort of like triggers us to do those, repeats those behaviors. Likewise, if the brain reward system is, you know, you're not making the right informed decisions, then what happens? You end up making the same decisions that make you get into debt. Do you know what I mean? Make risky decisions that cause, you know, devastating consequences. So the brain is like a computer, right? It remembers things that we do and it stores it. So if you're doing things financially that, you know, is working quite well, or, you know, you're setting up a savings plan and you're doing positive moves, the brain remembers those things and it you know, it reminds us to, this is what we've done before and this is what we need to continue doing so we can get the rewards that we want to obviously build wealth and make money, or make money and build wealth.
Yeah. And what would you say in terms of like that reward system for, especially like, because I'm talking to the people where it's maybe a bit harder for them to like try and do the right things like budgeting and stuff. So I know we talked about budgeting in the, let's say, financial plan or some sort of plan around their money, or they want to invest and stuff like that consistently. How can people get themselves into the mindset of, okay, there's a reward at the end of me doing this action.
I think people just off the top of their head think, oh, I want to make money, I want to live a life, good lifestyle, I want this, I want that. But have you really sat down and thought about what is it you really, really want? Do you know what I mean? Because when you understand for yourself what you really want, you give yourself permission and time to think about what you really want. The next step is to think about, how can I get there? What do I need to do to get there? A lot of people are just working from the top of their head without sitting down and really thinking about the steps that need to be taken. We're in this microwave society where everybody's flying off the handle and doing things, in a microwave speed. But let's go back to slow pot cooking, because when you're cooking something slow, it takes time. Yeah. All investment tycoons will tell you about the longevity of making money. Yeah. It's not about the overnight. If you're looking for a quick fix, that's not realistic. Exactly. Do you know what I mean? So it's about, if you feel like you're not in a position or you've never been able to save, you've got to start somewhere. I would always advise people to start with a stocks and shares ISA. You can open up for £1. Do you know, that's doable. I mean, I'm saving with Plum. So that's an app where you save £1. It's a 52-week challenge where you save £1 more each week. Yeah. So week 1 is £1, week 2 is £2, week up to, and I think you end up with like £1,300 at the end. Wow. Do you know what I mean? So
that's a good challenge. Yeah.
It's a good challenge. And if you can't even afford £1 a week, Monzo do the 1p challenge, and I think so it's 1 pence every week, I think it is, or is it every day, something like that, and you end up with like 600. You can do something simple like that where hopefully that you can save 1 pence a week or 1 pence a day. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's a 1p. Those type of things, that's where you need to start. You've just got to start somewhere.
Okay, so it's about like figuring out what you want.
Yes.
And that when you figure out, I remember, this might be a funny story for some people. I remember when so I used to work in a phone shop when I was going to uni at 3, and to motivate us, because basically they were doing this kind of like campaign where like whatever store or whatever sales associate got like the most sales, they'll fly them. I think it's somewhere in Asia, like Thailand or something. They'll fly you out. So what our manager done was like, why don't you print out something that will motivate you? So for me at the time, I printed out like a Mercedes a black matte Mercedes. I don't want that now. Yeah. But the young Atto, that's what he wanted, right? So it was this really like supercar black matte Mercedes, and we stuck up as a picture to like motivate us. So basically it's like a vision board, essentially, right? You have a vision board of what you have. And that vision or that thing, whatever it is, whether it's a house or whatever, that's telling you that will be your reward at the end of doing all of these things. Yeah. Because you're right. If you don't have that, then it's like, why am I doing this?
Thank you.
As well. Right?
Some people just saving. They've got no savings goal in mind. They'll happily tell you, I've got like 30 grand in the bank. What is it for? And it should be working harder for you if it's just in a normal regular banking account or savings account. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. What is your goal? Yeah. Like you said, whether you need a picture on your fridge or on your bed head or on, somewhere where you're going to visibly see that every day, you need to sit down and really think about what is it you really want.
Yeah. Another thing I often find, and I think we all go through it, you always have an idea. It could be like somebody will listen to this podcast and say, yes, I'm going to get ready to invest, and they'll be very excited and motivated. But the dip comes. You can't always be motivated. Sometimes you just have to do things just because that's just what it is. So how can someone get through the motivation dip that often comes after the excitement of starting something new?
Sure. So you have to understand what motivated you in the beginning. Because if it's whatever motivated you in the beginning and you really want that thing, whether the dip comes or not, do you know, we're all going to go through the dip period. But if it's something that you really want, you allow yourself that time and space. It's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to have a bad week. But at the end of the day, if you really want what you started to reach that goal, you're going to have to pick yourself up, dust yourself down and keep going.
Yeah. It's important.
It really is. You've got to really speak to yourself. That's where your affirmations come into play. That's where your picture of your black Mercedes comes into play. Being in that ditch, I would call it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is not going to get you to where you need to go.
Yeah.
And it's not easy sometimes. It really is not easy. And sometimes you may need to talk to like-minded people that you have sort of like the same sort of like goals that can help motivate you, because no man is an island, right?
Yeah, exactly. No man is an island. People are probably laughing about this black Mercedes. It's so funny. Okay, so I wanted to move into, again, it's still going to be around, making money, but from a psychological point of view, right? So the fear of success and self-sabotage and wealth building. What would you say are some common ways people subconsciously block themselves from earning more money and building wealth? And why does this happen even when they want to succeed?
Yeah. A lot of people get to set themselves a goal, say like they want to, achieve like $250,000. And they get to that place and they think, wow, I've done it. And they get complacent. And they feel, I've reached that goal, I don't need to do anymore. Whereas life is changing. We're human beings. We're forever evolving. Yeah. And the human nature, we always want the next thing. But some people feel, I've got to this place, I've achieved my goal, I don't need to do anymore. And that can be quite self-sabotaging because, like I said, everything around us is changing. And you have to, if you don't go right, my pastor said, if you don't get right, you'll get left behind. Do you know what I mean? Because life isn't stagnant. And so and I guess for some people, it took a lot to get where they wanted to get to. Now they've got there, it's like, I haven't got it in me to keep going. Because, when does it stop?
It doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. And what about the people who they haven't even got there, but they want to get there? How do they sabotage themselves?
A lot of times people feel they can't get there. It's like, you see everybody else there, or you see people with things that you would like to have or be where they want to be. The self-esteem or the lack of esteem. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The lack of confidence, thinking that, I haven't got it in me to get where I need to go. And a lot of people are so more capable than they really think they are. And when people come to see me and they come to my practice and they're depressed or stressed or lack they have low self-esteem, and just working with them therapeutically and doing deep exploration, they have so much potential, but yet they're sabotaging, the self-limiting beliefs. And that's where the therapy comes in. It brings out, it challenges those beliefs.
Yeah.
Once we explore it, and it just, the empowerment that I help people have or gain through therapy, it's just so powerful. They come in one way and they leave like Superman, Superwoman, ready to take on the world. Yeah. And it's, who you expose yourself to, who are you around? Because, if you're around like-minded people that are where you want to be, then you aspire to get there. But if you're around, my pastor says, if you're all talking the same language in your circle, your circle's too small.
I hear that, to be honest, because I think, as well, you do need to meet different people to expand your mind,
absolutely.
Right? That's the truth, right? You don't want to be in an echo chamber. Yeah. Sometimes you need to be challenged on your viewpoint. Sometimes you need to be challenged on, one of the things that I feel like made me understand that there was options to earn more and be more, was I would always speak to people at work about what their salaries are. Obviously people who are comfortable sharing it. I didn't just ask them. Yeah. They would talk about it and I'm like, oh my God, this is what you're earning. Oh, and then it kind of shatters your worldview. You're like, oh my God, you're kind of, not that you're thinking small, but actually whatever you are thinking, you can think bigger. Yeah. It's not, no number is really too big. Of course, there are crazy numbers, but no numbers normally are too big. In terms of the clients that you worked with, what have you seen them say to themselves where they're where they're saying stuff that's sabotaging themselves from achieving their potential?
Well, I've worked with barristers and producers, and some of them talk about, when it just amazes me when they're just trying to make ends meet. Mm-hmm. They're just trying to...
Really?
I'm telling you.
Wow.
They're just trying to make ends meet. And it's just, when you look at their outgoings and that, it just blows my mind. And it's just... It's just so crazy. And this is all with just how they've been spending their money, and it's all about their psychology, of their beliefs about money, the environment they've grown up in, what they've been exposed to, how they spend their money, how they view their money, their relationship with money. So this has developed their belief system, right? And in all of that, a lot of it's caused limiting beliefs. It's restricted them from stepping out and doing so much more than what they're doing at the moment.
Yeah, gosh, this is it's something you got to be careful of. I try to really monitor what I say to myself. If you hear like I can't, if you start to say you can't, then you're not going to try it, right? So you have to really try your best to not say I can't, or at least get somebody to keep you accountable and say, okay, I heard you say you can't. Come talk to me about that. Like, what do you mean you can't, achieve that? Because, I think it's very, very important.
I just wanted to say, just my own experience. So as I said before, I'm in my 60s now. So people around me, everybody, like my friends and family around my age, are also like winding down and looking forward to their pension and feel that, mortgages are paid off and they're quite content with where they are in life. Now that could be me, right? But I believe there's so much within me and there's so much for me to give, that I'm speaking a different language to these people. I'm not saying to myself, okay, this is my age, let me just hang my gloves up and that's it. I'm going out there fiercely. Do you know what I mean? As we talked about, I want to develop an app. Yeah. That's going to take a lot of work. That's going to take a lot of time. That's going to take a lot of effort and energy. But I know not only will it just transform the life of so many people in the world, it will leave a legacy for me and my family.
Yeah. Exactly. And look, kudos to you for doing that. Kudos for you to, like you say, you're not thinking I'm retiring. That's not what that's not what your thought process is. Your thought process is like, yes, I'm still in my peak and I can even go even further than 100%. That. And that's what it's about. Like,
absolutely.
It's
mindset.
What the mindset is, right?
What am I telling myself?
Yeah.
I'm telling myself that the world is my oyster and I will be a multi-billionaire.
Okay.
I'm not talking about millionaire.
We're going to see that.
Yeah.
You're going to see that.
100%, because the app that I will be developing can afford for me to have that.
Okay. Amazing. So I wanted to talk about this because we kind of mentioned it a little bit about ceilings, right? Because that ceilings of income and wealth, I would say that most people want to become a millionaire, but then I think some people also have put in their mind how much they think that they can earn. I really think, and you kind of see it, especially like when people like share their salaries. I think there was like something a few years ago where where a person shared their salary on Twitter. I think it was six figures. I think it was like between 150, 200K and and it was a young person.
Was that guy that plays music? The DJ?
No, it wasn't a guy. I think it was a woman. From what I remember. Yeah, shared her numbers on Twitter, and everybody was going crazy. Didn't believe it. Okay. I think cussing her, all this kind of stuff. And the reason people do that is because of limitations.
Yeah, they don't believe it's possible.
They've got a ceiling.
Absolutely.
That's what people. But let me tell you, you'll talk to people. It's funny you said DJ, because actually, I'm pretty sure that I think it's the BBC, don't quote me guys on this, but one of these big companies, they release the salaries. You can go and see it.
Yeah.
And I think it was of like their presenters, and you'll see it. It's like people from 6 figures up to like 1 million.
Yeah.
Several people on there.
Yeah.
Right? So a lot of us can have this. How can we break free from, having that ceiling of what, in terms of income and wealth, that we think is possible?
It's your self-belief. How do you value yourself? What do you think you're worth? Because when I talk to people, I know what I'm worth and I know what I can achieve. A lot of people think, oh my gosh, like you said, they didn't believe it. They didn't believe her. It's because they don't believe that that's even possible. If you don't believe it's possible, it will never be possible for you.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
And it's as simple as that. Listen, the industry, because my app falls into the financial well-being industry, which in 2030 is projected to be valued at 2 trillion. So that's why I'm believing I am going to be a multi-billionaire. If it's valued at 2 trillion, why am I saying I want to be a multi-millionaire? That don't make sense to me, because I know what I can bring to the table. I know what I can bring to that market.
Mm-hmm. So it's really you yourself believing
Absolutely.
that. You have to believe it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I could say, well, with my app, I probably might make about 100,000. Listen, I'm going to be making some billions. There is opportunity. There's a gap in the market, and I'm going to fill that gap.
And that's how bold and brave you have to be.
100%.
Without having to feel like you're saying something silly. I think people just need to stop caring what other people think.
Absolutely.
It's what you want.
Yes.
If you feel like that's what you can achieve.
Absolutely.
Go for it.
I am going for it. And I'm bringing as many people as possible along my journey with me.
Yeah.
That's got the same mindset, that believe that it's possible.
Yeah. It's that's the thing, you have to. And I just want to encourage people that are listening and watching this, that if you do believe stuff, don't let people hold you back.
Absolutely.
I think it's very important.
The people that have the most to say are the people that are not doing anything.
Yeah.
Because the people that are doing stuff, they know it's possible, and they're agreeing with you. They know, because they're in those kind of rooms making those deals all the time.
Exactly. It's honestly like I think you have to just have that belief in yourself. It's very important. So we mentioned before, right? Financial peace. What does that mean, and how is it different from just being financially stable?
Okay. Like I said in the beginning, financial peace, I felt so successful as a single mother with 3 children that was able to meet all my children's needs. That gave me financial peace. Because if I wasn't able to meet our needs, that would have caused me so much stress and anxiety. I probably would have felt inadequate. Do you know what I mean? That I wasn't able to look after my children. And so some people have lots of money, have no financial peace. They're so troubled by one thing or another. And a lot of the times they're troubled by the fear of losing their money or losing their status, like we talked about before. And that comes back to the psychology of money and not actually knowing their numbers. What do I mean by that? So they've got this wealth, they've got money coming in, money going out, but they're not sure exactly what those figures are. So I gave the analogy in the first podcast about, when you're going on a road trip and the petrol gauge of your vehicle is not working. Now it's a long road trip, it's over motorway, and you're not sure when you're going to need to top up petrol. You're in that car. How's that going to make you feel? The stress of, it could break, you're not sure when you're going to need to top up, the stress of not knowing, that causes so much anxiety. But that same road trip, with, a car full of your friends, the petrol gauge is working, when you're going to need to stop and top up, exactly, you're in control now, because you know exactly what's needed when it's needed. So these people with the money, they're not sure. So, oh my God, a lot of people, when they come to me, they think they need a second or third job, because the money's just going out left, right and centre. They don't know where it's going. They've got no idea. They're not tracking it. They've got no budgeting tracker or anything. When I do my financial boot camp and we go through their finances, there's so much disposable income. And a lot of the money is just going left, right and centre. And it's, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I have actually got this money. So it's the same thing with people that have, high incomes. They're just spending it left, right and centre, don't know where it's going. Once you understand what you've got, you can then allocate, know what you're allocating to the different areas that you're allocating your money to. Then you know what you're working with. Okay. And then do you think that's what will give you financial peace? Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Right. Like I talked about the car journey. Now they're in a car journey. They're in control. They know that the petrol gauge is working. They know what they need to do, when they need to do it. They are in control. Yeah. So when you're in control, you have an element of peace. You do. And this is the thing. Like, I think there's this huge assumption that if you're not in control now, people automatically think for some reason when you make loads more money, you're now in more control. No. Can you talk about why that's not the case? Especially that you're not now more in control. Sure. Yeah. So, personal finance and managing your personal finance is the foundation of being financially successful. When you see a 14-story building, the foundation of that building will be 14 stories down. Do you know what I mean? So how high it is, that's how far they need to dig deep. So whatever happens, the rain, the storm, whatever, it will be able to withstand any weather condition. Likewise with your money, if you can't manage £10 and you can't manage it well, when you get £100, do you think you're going to manage it any better? You have those same behaviours, that same mindset, those same practices with £100. So you need to understand your psychology of money. You need to have the financial education of how to manage it, how to track it, how to budget well. If you can budget well with £10, you'll be able to budget well with £1 million. Those high net worth people, they know where every pound and every penny's going. They're in control.
Yeah.
People earn, have a salary of 2K a month. They don't know where half of that money's going. And they're broke by the second or third week. So they will never have financial peace. So it boils down to understanding your money, knowing how to manage, knowing exactly what you've got coming in and exactly what you've got going out.
Yeah.
That will give you financial peace.
Yeah, exactly. And it's important to state that you have to understand that. Otherwise, like you say, it doesn't change the problem. Because as we mentioned, you've spoken to high net worth people. And actually, can we unpack that a little bit more? You mentioned that you've had conversations with high net worth people, but some of them still have stress and anxiety. And is that because of that lack of control?
Yeah. They haven't got time to check where the money's going.
Why didn't you get a financial advisor?
Financial advisor will advise them where to put their money, but personal finance is the foundational level. Do you know what I mean? The financial advisor comes after you've got this disposable income, right? But you need to draw back and understand exactly how much you have to invest. They might have just all this disposable income all over the place and say, invest that, invest 100 grand here, invest $500,000 there. But actually, their personal finance, they don't understand that bit of it. They don't understand, actually, I may have more to invest once I, understand exactly how much disposable income I've got and how much I can actually allocate.
Yeah, exactly. And
they're missing that part.
And it's a very important part. And it's like somebody said on the podcast recently, it's better to prepare before you get to somewhere. Then try to prepare when you're there. You need to...
Too late.
It's too late.
It's like the horse has gone out the gate and you're trying to get the horse back. It's too late. It really is.
So we often talk about the stress of money in terms of mental health, but how do financial struggles also show up in our physical health and well-being?
I mean, I was working with one client and, she was going to the doctors all the time, headaches, pains in her back, pains. She thought she was actually having a stroke. Because what happens is, I don't know if you've heard of psychosomatic symptoms. Basically, psychosomatic symptoms are what's happening to us psychologically. It translates into our body. And so you can go to the doctors and complaining of all these different illnesses and the doctor can't find anything. Years ago, you used to go to the doctors, you could sit down, you could really sit down and talk to them about holistically about your whole situation and your problems. Doctors haven't got the time anymore. It's like you tell them one thing, they're either looking it up on Google or they're giving you a prescription, right? But physically, it has to come out it either has to come out mentally or it comes out through your body physically.
Okay. Wow. That's serious.
It's very, very serious. So if you're, a lot of people are stressing about their money and they've got a lot of anxiety, overwhelmed, they're depressed. So what does it do? It affects your sleep. It affects your it affects your eating pattern. It affects your mood. Do you know what I mean? You're suffering from headaches. It affects your stomach. It affects you physically. And if it's not been addressed, it's just a perpetuating cycle that needs, and a lot of people don't associate their finances with their mental health. They know that, the finances are really problematic, but they're not thinking about, it's really stressing me out. They don't really make that connection because one, we wasn't financially educated, and two, we're not financially psychologically educated. So it's not in our awareness. And so many people are really suffering. In fact, the Mental Health Foundation state that 90% of people in the UK worry about money. And then there's an app called Go Henry
Yeah.
for young children aged 6 to 18. They reported that 71% of young people have money worries.
Yeah.
And 21% of that 71% are children aged 11 and younger, suffering from stress, anxiety, and depression about money.
Really? At such a young age?
At such a young age. Why do you think that is? It's because they've been exposed to what's happening in their household. This is the exposure. You know, parents that may be arguing about money situations, or they may want things, children, and their parents are saying, I can't afford this, I can't afford that, whether it's trainers or food. Do you know what I mean? So and not that parents are doing it intentionally. Subconsciously, the parents are just going about their daily lives, but the children are sitting down and they're like sponges, children, and absorbing everything. I was speaking to one lady, and when I was explaining this to her, she said, that's funny, you know, because her son is 9 years old, and she said to him, do you want to go to university? And he said, yes. And so he said, Mummy, do you have to pay to go to university? And she said, yes. He said, I don't want to go.
Wow.
And then he said to her, Mummy, the next time we go shopping, can we buy some seeds to plant our own vegetables in the garden? And she said, well, why would we want to do that? So he said, so we wouldn't have to buy them. So she's just going about her daily business. Obviously, she's probably making remarks or whatever, like you do as a parent. But can you see how he's
absorbed and learned?
Yeah. And then for him, that's a worry. And I don't want, you know, a lot of children don't want their parents to worry about the money. And so they take on that worry themselves. And then they're stressing, they're anxious and all the rest of it. They're not talking to anybody about it. They're in their room on their games, whatever. Then they're developing these mental health issues. They go into adolescence where the hormones are all over the place. Then we're dealing with mental health, people with mental health issues.
And the thing is, you know, if you're that young, you don't even understand what's going on.
You don't
just learn what
understand.
you've learned.
Absolutely.
That's it,
And nobody's really talking about it. Parents have no idea that their children are experiencing. So for me, I would say to parents, have a conversation with your children around the dinner table, or when you're when you're taking them to school. What does money mean to you? How do you feel about money? Do you worry about money? Does it make you worry? Ask them these basic questions.
Very important.
And the parents have no idea. They have no awareness of any of this. Isn't it sad?
This is why you should speak to your kids about
everything.
But when I say this is why, I'm not saying parents don't. But this is why I guess it shows the importance of having that communication line with them, because then you can pick up on these things that they've learned. Because you know, sometimes you don't even have the opportunity to clarify it because they've already, you know, you can clarify it after when they've said it. But if you never spoke to them about it, it becomes a bit of a challenge as well. So wow.
It's deep, right?
It's very deep. It's very deep. So, over 70% of people who watch these episodes are subscribed. If that's you, hit the subscribe button. It really supports the channel, it helps it grow, and most importantly, lets us keep bringing you valuable conversations like this one. Plus, you'll be the first one to know when new episodes drop. Thank you so much for your support so far, and enjoy the rest of the show. You know, we talked about, you know, having financial peace and things like that, and, you know, people budgeting. So what are the small daily practices that can help someone move from constant money stress to financial peace? Because we don't want people having physical pains or mental pains and stuff like that.
I mean, as I said, I think the first thing to do is, I keep saying it, is about budgeting. Everybody will tell you it's a budgeting. People may think I haven't got time, but we've all got bank accounts. Most banks, well, I think all banks have budgeting apps which are free that you can use. And so I would say start there, at least, and it does all the work for you. It's tracking your spending, where it's going. You can put your money in little pots and give those pots limits. It will tell you when you're getting close to your limit. So it's helping you. It's giving you like a picture. A budget is like looking in a mirror, but you're looking in a mirror of your finances. So it's giving you a picture of what you're doing with your money, where it's going. It will show you areas where you're spending more money in, or, you know, and you can put caps on how much you want to spend in each category. Do you know what I mean? So for shopping, for socializing, for clothes, subscriptions. Do you know what I mean? So those are the basic things that anyone can do, and it doesn't cost you any money, and it doesn't cost you much time. All you got to do is, obviously, if you've got a bank account, make sure that your bank is linked to one of those apps. That is the very first thing. And then I think for saving, do something like I'm doing with Plum or Monzo, where you save the 1p challenge or the 1 pence challenge.
Okay. So definitely try to use budgeting for it, and then that will get you into the habit of understanding like where holistically where everything is. And then to get you on the journey of saving, do some of the challenges, right?
Yeah.
It can be, like you say, Plum, it could be Monzo, it could be something else.
Absolutely.
Maybe you could do it with your friends. Or your family as a challenge. Okay, guys, let's do £1 a week or however much you want to do.
And you can keep each other accountable.
Exactly. Yeah, it's quite good. Because I think if you like speak to other people about it, it always makes it like easy.
Yeah.
So we wanted to talk about, financial freedom. I wanted to talk about this because it's so many people want to achieve financial freedom, right? And, it's interesting. I don't want to, I think it's a great goal to achieve, and I think people should definitely go for it. But you kind of mentioned it before, right? So some people may think that money buys freedom. In a conversation that we had, you said that's an illusion. Why do you think that might be an illusion?
Yeah, because money don't buy freedom, because before having that money, what was your life like before? So if you was if you had some type of illness or whatever problems you may have had before, when you get the money, it's not going to take that away. It might help the situation, but it's not going to free you up from that situation. Do you know what I mean? So some people think money is the answer, and it will be the answer. If I was to win the lottery, you hear people say that all the time. Yeah. If I was to win the lottery,
I hear that all the time.
do you know what I mean? My life, but actually a lot of people that win the lottery, that blessing becomes a burden because they don't know how to manage the money. Again, I think people shouldn't, before that money is released, they should have some financial therapy and also speak to a financial advisor before they're allowed to spend a penny of that money. Because just think, it causes, so many emotions happen when you win that type of money. You've never had that money before, and now you've come into this money. Initially you're so heightened and everything is, my life is going to change, it's going to be perfect. But that's the beginning of the burden, right? You start spending crazy and doing things that you would have never done before if you hadn't have had that money. And then they say within 7 years, a lot of people that win, 70% of people that win the lottery end up broke.
Yeah.
So that blessing that you thought would have caused financial freedom, it's now, and now they're in a worse financial situation because they've spent all that money, they've got themselves in so much debt as a result of living that lifestyle, but the money's run out. And it's the financial freedom, as I said, it's all in the planning. Before you spend a penny, you need to have some financial therapy to help you understand how it's going to affect you, your life, and your family.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then you need to speak to a financial advisor about some of the goals that you want to achieve and what you want to do with that money. You need that financial education because we wasn't taught financial literacy in school.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like somebody chucking, you say, I want to learn to swim, and you haven't got a swimming instructor, you just jump in the swimming pool. What's going to happen?
Probably going to start flapping about.
Yeah, probably drowned, right?
Yeah.
Unless somebody rescues you.
Yeah.
So before you learn to swim, you need to start at the shallow end with a swimming instructor to help you learn the steps to swim.
Yeah, it's very important. And I think, I'm not trying to beat down on financial freedom because financial freedom is my goal. I think everybody should achieve that. But I think the reason why we wanted to bring it up is because we wanted to talk about that's a great goal, but don't think that's going to solve all your problems.
Absolutely.
Right? It's about trying to solve, again, it's about trying to solve as many problems as you can before you get there.
Absolutely.
Right. And
so you can enjoy it.
Exactly.
Another thing, what does financial freedom mean to you? It's an individual thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? What does financial freedom, you think, okay, having enough money to live on so I don't have to work. But then, yes, that can be financial freedom. But if your mindset is not right, if you haven't got the peace and your life is not in order, then you might have the money, but you won't have the freedom.
Exactly. And that's what it is, right? And we were talking about wealthy people feeling trapped, right?
Yeah.
In terms of their statuses. That is an example of it, right? They might have an element of financial freedom, but they're trapped in a way because, like you say, they have to keep appearances.
There was a woman, I don't want to mention her name, but she's well known anyway. She used to, she was a bag designer, and she was a multi-millionaire. She was on the red carpet on the Thursday, and on the Saturday she committed suicide, leaving an 11-year-old.
Wow.
She had financial freedom.
Wow.
I don't know if she was a billionaire, but she was a multi-millionaire.
Wow.
Now, a pity I didn't meet her before she committed suicide, because I could have worked with her psychologically to prevent that, because I work with a lot of suicidal clients. So people, and everybody was just so shocked because she looked so we don't know what's going on in people's minds, in their lives. And you'd think somebody at that status, and what was that guy's name, that black guy, what's his name? I can't remember his name. Oh, I can't even remember his name, but he committed suicide a few years ago. Was he a producer or a dancer?
Producer, I don't know.
A guy in America. And I'm not sure he went to a hotel room. He was on Instagram with his wife doing a dance like they do on the TikTok dance.
Okay.
And I think a few days later, he went to a hotel and shot himself in the head. And he was accomplished, established, again, a multimillionaire. And do you know what I'm saying? Whatever his problems were, they weren't being addressed.
Yeah.
So he was in a position for financial freedom, but his mind wasn't free.
Yeah. So it's about, like you say, getting your mind free first, working on that. Like you say, when you get the financial freedom, you can enjoy it. Your peace is nice. Because that's what we want people
Your
to have.
peace is sweet, man.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's fun. Do you know what I mean? Because ultimately, that's what you want. You don't want to be there like, oh my God, like, you're worrying about this and that. Can you talk about, you kind of alluded to it before, but the downgrade fear, why for some people, whether wealthy or not, the thought of losing money or status can feel almost unbearable. So you talked about the other side of somebody actually losing it, and that was bad, but like the fear of like losing all of that, or even telling their family members, look, we might not. I'm not gonna spoil this because I think I told you about this. I don't know if you've watched it, but there's a show I watched and it talks about this. I'm not going to mention the show because I don't want to spoil it for people. But basically, the person was like, they were wealthy. I think like they were multi-millionaire. They went on a trip with their family, but they kind of got their money through like, it wasn't legit means, right? And basically they were going to get arrested. They were going to get arrested. Their funds were going to be frozen. And I think obviously they were stressed about it, but what made them more stressed was telling the family. And what they would do was they will subtly try to ask their family, like their partner, like, how would you feel if our lifestyle was like that? And I think it triggered it even more because they ask their family member, like, okay, so if we was to, have to, that family member said, no, I'll rather basically die. That's what the family member said. I'd rather die than downgrade. And I think that spiraled the person like to another level. So, so this thing happens. So why, what is that about?
It's just that, as I said, it goes back to status. Because, so many people we know worry about what other people think about them. The perception of how other people see them, that to them is, I'd rather die. I would rather die than any people perceive me any different. And as I said, I'm working with suicidal clients. They feel like, I can't. It's easier for me to take my life than to tell my family that but the family's gonna have to change their lifestyle anyway if you take your life. And this is the work that I'm doing with them. Do you know what I mean? So for them, when I say overwhelming, the fear that fear is one of the most powerful emotions that us as humans have. It is so powerful. It psychologically cripples you, emotionally cripples you. And so, as I said, they would rather... no, they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
And, like you said, testing it out with they don't even have to ask their family members. Then they know what the answer's going to be, before asking them, how would you feel if we had to downsize to a smaller house or take the children out of private school, or not even people that are up there, just a working class family, if we had to move to a smaller house, or we had to sell the house and go and live with a family. No, it's not happening.
So how can people manage that? Just in case there's anybody watching or listening that is going through that or might go through that in the future. How do you manage that conversation, especially around the fear of telling somebody, look, I might lose my job, we might need to move, we might need to pull the kids out of private school, we might not go on holiday this year, whatever it is. How can somebody have that conversation and feel comfortable having that conversation with whoever they need to
I think it's, because what you're talking about is vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
For somebody making themselves vulnerable. And a lot of the times that is a fear in itself, making themselves vulnerable, because especially like for men, where they're their provider and that is their role, and that pressure on men. And sometimes, they feel that their partner's just not going to understand it. But, as vulnerable as you may feel, it's a conversation that has to be said. It has to be had. And I think it's about planning that conversation. It might take weeks to even plan that conversation. It may be that, and when I say planning, it's about making sure where you have that conversation is the right conducive place. So it may be going out for a meal, going for a walk somewhere, just somewhere that, you're not going to be interrupted by any other family member. Do you know what I mean? And just making sure you make that time and space, because it's going to have to be done, as painful as it may be. And even say, I know what I'm going to say may be painful, triggering, whatever, it's not that you're, take ownership of it. Do you know what I mean? This is what might happen. This is where I am. And I want to know what we can do together to try and work through this. Yeah. It may be that we may have to move house. It may be that you may need to take a second job, or, we may need to work double hour, more hours. Make it so that we're looking at solutions, not at focusing on the problem. Yeah. Let's try and focus on what we can do as regards to a solution around this. What would it be like for you? What would it be like for me? What would it be like for us? Ask them open questions. You're asking open questions. Why? Because you're leaving it open for them to answer.
Yeah. And it's important. And I think that, ultimately speaking, right, like we want everybody to, get on with these, have a happy life, right? Yeah. And just also, I feel like, sometimes if you get into a rough patch, I always like to see it like it's not always going to be like that for a while. It's just a temporary period and you'll be back up.
Yeah. And that's something you really need to highlight, that this is what might happen, or this is what I think you need to tell them before it happens, because don't tell them when it has happened, because you haven't got much time to maneuver. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And you're keeping them in the loop so they don't and it's all about trust as well. It's like, we're going to fall. Can I catch you? Do you know what I mean? And if somebody feels that you can catch them, they feel safe enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think people just need to, work with each other.
They do.
Because at the end of the day, stuff happens. Like, people get made redundant. It's life.
It's an unexpected event. Yeah. And what do you do when an unexpected event happens? That could be an illness. It could be a redundancy. It could be a relationship breakdown where there was 2 salaries and now there's 1. And you're left for the children and you've got to fend for yourself. Whatever the situation is, whether that conversation is with your children or with your partner, I think it needs to be open and it needs to be fluid, that it's a conversation that you're allowing both parties to discuss and have their opinions. Because if they're saying, no, I can't, we're not going to, it's not going to happen, or I can't, then ask them, what do you suggest?
Yeah. Okay. One of the things I love about going to events is how they give you a fresh perspective. You step into a room and suddenly you're surrounded by ideas, people, and opportunities you didn't even know you needed. That's exactly what's happening at UK Black Business Week and Show in London between the 13th and 18th of October 2025. This isn't just another conference. It's a celebration of next level talent and breakthrough thinking. Picture this: sessions covering tech, finance, law, media, culture, and sport. 70 plus speakers on stage, 100 plus Black owned brands to discover, and thousands of attendees buzzing with energy. You'll hear from trailblazers like Karen Blackett, Daniel Asheville, Amani Simpson, Jordan Mitchell, and Mike Williams. And on the main stage on Saturday, Melissa Holbrook Aposity, celebrated fashion stylist and creative director, and Vanessa Kingori OBE, one of the UK's most influential business leaders and now senior executive at Google. They'll be sharing the lessons, strategies, and stories that have shaped their extraordinary journeys. And because I've been to the Black Business Show twice, I know how transformative it can be. So I've partnered with UK Black Business Week and Show to give my community 100 free tickets, which you can use to get complimentary access to the UK Black Business Show on Saturday, the 18th of October, or to the Black Women Business Talks and Black Men Business Talks. Use the code SAVVYFREE at checkout to claim yours, but don't wait. they'll go fast. For all other events happening throughout the week, you can still use my code UKBB15 for 15% off tickets. As people grow wealth, what traps do they need to avoid and what beliefs do they need to unlearn if they want true freedom, not just financial freedom?
Okay, so as people grow wealth, what traps do they need to avoid? Okay, so if as you're growing wealth, you know, some things will go right, some things will go wrong. It's just making sure you're, you know, I think keep a journal of your journey and journal everything, the wrong, you know, the things that went well and things that are not went well. Because sometimes some people can keep repeating the same mistakes, even though it's not gone well for them. When are you going to learn that that does not work?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Even though they're still building wealth, a lot of the times they're doing things that are not productive. So it's about making sure that, okay, that didn't work this time. You know how many times people will go around the same mountain before they think, this ain't working? Just because some of it's working and a part of it's not working. If that part of you's working is the consequence of that is quite big, then you need to avoid that. But some people's mindset, they just get so stuck in a rut that they think, okay, it works a little bit, so I'll continue it. No, if it's not serving you, eliminate it from your life.
Okay, important. That's
Absolutely.
what we're saying. You got to be a bit ruthless when you can be, and just also be mindful. But I think these things are taking some time with yourself and thinking about it, and just.
Can I give an example? There was a guy that I was working with, and he was building wealth, and he was in with this relationship with this gal, and she was a high class woman that wanted high class things. Yeah, so he's making all this money, but he's spending a lot of money on her. And yet, so you're building wealth, but because of the lifestyle she wants to live, that was affecting actually how much you, and there was things that he wanted to do, but because certain things that she wanted, it was limiting his growth. So he had to get to a place where he had to make a decision.
Whoa. Wow.
And in therapy, I helped him get to that place. I never made the decision for him. I just helped him lay everything out on the table.
Yeah, and that's important, right?
Absolutely.
Like you have to also understand where everything is. And then maybe what it is, one of the options is a conversation with that person to be like, look, this is the plan, right? Because you know what I find sometimes with people, right? They have all these goals. I want to live in a big house. I want to drive this nice car, do all of this stuff. But okay, if you want to get that, you have to sacrifice.
Yes.
How do you get that without sacrifice? Okay, but you want to live all the stuff now, but still have that. How? How do you do it?
Exactly.
Right? Something's got to give somewhere,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah. So I think sometimes if you present the option, and to me, if you present the option, the person's like,
that's made your decision for you.
then it's like, all right, we're not on the same wavelength. We are not on the same wavelength. We're not trying to build. We're just trying to consume all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's some people like that.
Yeah, and some people just don't. Some people will say, okay. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Some people say, okay, I hear you. Let's do it. You know, let's work your way. Do you know what I mean? Where some people say, nah, I need this. I need this. This is my lifestyle. Then, okay, they've answered. So you know what decision to make, right?
Yeah, exactly. Gosh. So when we spoke as well, you mentioned that debt is killing people's wealth potential. How does it hold people back?
Because if your life is, a lot of people I've worked with, they've had so much in savings that are earning them 0 point something or 2% interest, but they've got so much debt and they're paying APRs of 24% and all the rest. Does that even make sense? Your plan should be, let me have a debt plan to start paying off that debt. Because and once you pay off that debt, that will free you up money to then do what you need to do. But people would rather see that money in their bank account than and pay the minimum tool, and they're paying the minimum tool that debt that could take them decades to pay off. Does that? So this is where the financial education comes in. Yeah. That it will hold you back, and you know, let's have a debt plan where you work out how long it will take you to pay off that debt. Then that frees up all that money.
Yeah. Exactly. And then what would you say are like some of the psychological steps that somebody can take to break free from debt?
Debt sometimes is a learned behavior. They've grown up in a family of debt. Do you know what I mean? So that's how, and debt is what I mean by debt. You know, you've got credit cards and loans and all the rest of it. This is debt. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, a mortgage is a debt, but it's a positive debt. you know? And so there's negative debt and positive debt. Negative debt is like credit cards where you're paying all this unnecessary interest. A mortgage is it will be an asset to you, it is an asset, one of your assets. And you're paying obviously money towards interest, but it's an asset that at the end of the term, when you're finished paying off, you've got that asset. A debt, you're just paying the bank. You're just throwing money away, actually, to the bank. If you're giving the money to the bank and they're using that money to buy whatever financial products or do whatever they want to do with your money. Because your money sitting in the bank is not sitting in the bank. The bank is using it to invest and reinvest and repurpose and do what they want. Exactly.
And that's what it's all about. So it sounds like it's really about trying to understand what your situation is and then make a plan for
100%.
Your situation.
You have to make a plan. You can't just pluck out the sky what I want to do. Sit down and work it out. And how long is it going to take you? And how much you need to pay into that debt for you to get to the end goal, which is to clear it.
Yeah, exactly. So when we also spoke, this was very interesting, right? Because we're in an element of hustle culture, right? A lot of people are hustling. Look, I'm hustling too, but I don't know if maybe people won't know that. I'm very mindful. Although I hustle, I monitor myself a lot. If I feel like I'm burning out, I'm like, okay, break time, or I need to go on holiday and stuff like that. So I monitor. I'm not trying to drive myself. So I think it's very important for people to do that. So you said juggling too much can lead to resentment. Is hustle culture quietly making people poorer instead of richer?
I think, we're all hustlers in one way or another, right?
Yeah.
And some people are just running around like a headless chicken. They hear this, somebody's doing this, they want to do that. They hear somebody else doing something else. What is your stay in your lane? What is your hustle? Do you know what I mean? Because if you focus on like one particular thing and focus on it and do it well, once you've mastered that, then you can, start hustling somewhere else on something else. If you're focusing on one thing, you're pacing yourself. You know what that thing will take. You've sat down and worked out what you need to do to get to the end goal. Then, it shouldn't be so resentful, but you become resentful if you're hustling all over the place and you're burnt out, but yet you can't see no results. Does that even make no sense?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. So scale down your hustle. If you're hustling on 5 things, scale it down to 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And focus on them and set, goals and have steps of what you need to do to reach your end goal.
Yeah. And I'm guilty of talking about several income streams because I've been thinking more and more about this as I go through my own journey. And like you say, I'm more focused on doing just very few things, but focus. Don't get me wrong. I'm one of those people that have loads of ideas. I have to always tell myself, focus on this one thing, do this well. So there is an element that sometimes you have to do that, but you're right. I think when you spread yourself too thin, how good can you really be at all of these things,
you
right?
Can't.
If it's 1 or 2 that you do at extremely high level, it's more likely to do. And then let's say you do that high level and then you automate it, then maybe you move on to the then do the 3rd, then the 4th, instead of trying to do 7 in one go.
Absolutely. It really is.
Yeah, it's a lot. So if we're saying that hustle culture is obviously a bit detrimental in terms of like people doing too much and spreading themselves too thin, right? How can someone build wealth without burning themselves out?
I think I'll use myself an example. So like I said, I want to develop an app. Now that's going to take work, but it's going to take all my areas of expertise that I'll pull together into one place. So it's like I'm hustling in all different areas, but it's all with one common goal. Do you know what I mean? And once I can get that up and running, that in itself because I've got to start with one, I'll be working with millennials. It'll be aimed at working with millennials. Okay. Once I've mastered all of work, all it entails to work with millennials, then I'll move to another generation. It may be the children I talked about, the Go Henry app, and young people experiencing mental health issues. So I'm a grandmother with 3 grandchildren, and that's something on my heart. So, and I'm still hustling in different areas, but I'm it's with with a focus.
Yeah.
It's with a focus, as opposed to going all over the place with all different things that are not making much sense.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And this will bring in, my one app can bring in all different streams of income.
Okay. Amazing. And we're looking forward to seeing your app. So we were talking offline about Miami. We talked about Miami in the first episode as well, right? So for those that haven't listened, again, go and listen to that episode. So you own a property in Miami, right? Do you want to talk
Correct.
a little bit about that? How is that going?
Yeah. So, it's going really well. I mean, I bought it in 2009.
Wow.
Yeah. And I also talked about a property I bought in Middlesbrough, right?
Yes.
In the lockdown. And there was a couple of comments saying, oh, how could you have bought anything in lockdown? Nobody was whatever. I bought it in December 2020. So December 25 will be, I've had it for 5 years.
Yeah, wow.
I bought it for 51k. It's now worth 78k.
Okay.
And so I'm just so happy with that little investment, right? Because I was saying people can buy like a Range Rover or whatever for 51k. Yeah. So now I'm in the position now I'm gonna be paying off Miami.
Okay.
I'm so happy. So I'm going to draw down whatever equity I can take out of Middlesbrough, that little investment, and other little investments to pay off Miami.
Okay. So you're going to be paying off Miami.
Yeah.
Okay.
So come December, January, I would have paid off Miami. So one of my dreams were back then is to live by coastal, like the winters in Miami and the summers in the UK. It's a dream come true.
Okay. So is that'll be like a holiday home for you?
It's in a residential area, but yes, it will be.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's a gated community.
Wow.
Yeah, so I pay quite a bit for that, but I don't live there, right? And that's another thing when you're buying property. It's about the demographics. Where is it? It's equivalent to our Chelsea here. And so it's before I get any tenant, it has to go through the board. They have to a whole process.
Really? A board?
It has to go through a board.
Okay, this must be a wealthy neighborhood.
Yeah, it is a wealthy neighborhood.
Okay.
Yeah. So I knew where I was buying. Where it is, it's like a mile long worth of houses, and there's different phases of houses. I mean, I'm at the start of it, so I've got like one of the lowest amount, it cost, to buy in that, but there's like multi-million. It's just crazy. They've got golf courses and clubhouses. Wow. The Marriott Hotel is situated on this complex of where
insane.
Yeah. So I knew, I've just got a new tenant, and my previous tenant was there for 9 years. But I've got a new tenant that's moving from New York to Miami, and I put it on the market to be rented, and within like 8 days, it got snapped up.
Wow!
Sought after area.
Wow! So, how did you go about buying a property in Miami? It'd be very interesting to understand. How did you find it? How did you go through the process of doing it?
Sure. So I travel quite often, as I mentioned before. I've got relatives in Florida and aunt in Miami and that. And they were saying, you're back and forth all the time. Why don't you buy something here? So said, so done. So I done my due diligence, found a really good realtor. She took us around to like 15 properties for the yeah. But it's just like when people say I found a wife, or I found my husband, or I found the house. When you see that house or that husband or that wife, that's the one. And I went into this complex where it is, and I said, I'm going to buy a house in here. And so said, so done. So, it's all about finding people that you can trust, right? Yeah. And the realtor that I found, she worked with a syndicate, so they had accountants, they had lawyers, do you know what I mean? So they had everything you need, they had that. Okay. Everything I needed to purchase my property. So, it's just about finding a tenant. I found another realtor because she's not in the business anymore, and it helped it happen, made it happen for me.
That's crazy. And does it work like how that was an investment property that you bought that time?
Yeah.
Is it like the same thing where you got to do in the UK? It's 25%.
Oh no!
Okay.
It was. I can't even remember how much deposit we had to put down.
It wasn't like 10%, was it?
It was. I think it was more than 10%.
Okay.
Yeah, it was because here it's 25% for a buy-to-let property. Yeah. I'll have to go back and read. look up how much we had to pay. But yeah, I kind of remember how much. I should have really done that before I came here to really break it down. But if anybody wants to know, they can contact me and I can go through the steps that I went with them and introduce them.
It doesn't have to be the raw numbers. I was just like curious about like percentage.
Yeah. I can't remember the percentage, but it's been such a fantastic investment because I bought it in 2009 and I've only had to pay the mortgage about 3 times.
Wow.
Because it's paying for itself. I don't have to pay for it. It's paying for itself. And now I'm in a position because of the investments I've made that I can use that to pay off for it.
Wow. So it'd just be like cash flow just coming
Cash flow. And that's what I'm talking, knowing what to do with the little that you have or with whatever. It's not what you have, it's what you do with what you have. And even though I'm drawing the equity out of my Middlesbrough mortgage, the rental income of it's increased over the 5 years, it will still cover how much I'm drawing down to pay off America.
Really? Okay.
So I ain't got to touch my money at all.
That's epic. Amazing, Miss Norma. That is so cool. Okay. My final few questions for you. What does it look like to think and act in a way that attracts wealth?
Okay. So I think, funny enough, people think that I'm a millionaire, multi-millionaire. I think it's mindset. That's what, attracts, people to think that you've got wealth. Because appearance as well, but a lot of times when you're talking to people and you're having these conversations, their mindset can blow your mind. And these are wealthy people, and it's like, if this is what they're doing, I'd like to be around that so I can do the same myself. I mean, I went to one of the Forbes family events. They had a soiree last week, and there are people talking about working in Saudi, and that's the next place that's opened up, apart from Dubai. And it's like, wow, I need to know how you do this. I need to be part of that. Do you know what I mean? And these are people that are building wealth.
Yeah.
So it's being around wealthy people, knowing what they're doing and, doing some of those things, if that's what you want to do, to help you build wealth.
Yeah. If you could rewrite the rule book for money and psychology, what would the first 3 rules be?
It would be my KISS tips. What do I mean by that? K, keep it simple. Keep it simple. Keep it simple by knowing your numbers. That's where everybody needs to start from. I, implement some goals, right? No, because people say, I want to get rich. What are your goals to make that happen? I'm talking about my Miami. These are things I had to sit down and plan. The Miami, the Middlesbrough. Do you know what I mean? These houses, I had to plan what I wanted to do. And it's not that it's making me rich, but it's making me wealthy. I'm getting there. Do you know what I mean? And then the KISS, K, keep it simple by knowing your numbers. I implement goals because you'll know what numbers that you're working with. And then S, set those goals. Okay. A lot of people have goals up in their head. Yeah, I want to do this. I'm going to do this. Nothing's written down. No plans are made. It's all in their head. Keep it simple.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ms. Norma. This has been a fantastic conversation. It's been great, catching up with you for the second time on the podcast. Really appreciate you sharing, all the, examples and stories that you have, and really, all the lessons that you've learned in, what you do as a psychotherapist and a money management consultant. We really, really appreciate, all the gems. And yeah, wish you all the best as well with your app. I'm looking forward to seeing, the billionaire.
Absolutely.
We'll interview you for the third time as a billionaire, third and fourth time for sure. Where can people find you if they want to reach out to you? Okay, my website, my name, normacassius.com. Just go to the contact page and contact me there. I'm on Instagram, think.like.a.bank. Follow me, subscribe. And those are the 2 places where I'm really at the moment. Amazing. Like I said, it's been really fun having this conversation with you again, because I really think the psychology of money is so important, but also understanding, like you say, right, also look at the other aspects as well, aside from money. Like you say, if you already have problems, try and think around some of those problems, but not only that, but also think about how money can also have a detrimental impact on your life, whether it's the fear of, losing your status, or you've lost your status, and how to deal with that. It's so multi-dimensional, and I think it's worth having that conversation with, somebody as well. Do you have any final words for watchers and listeners? Yeah, I think my
Vision is to teach and preach. I want to reach the multitude, because especially in our community, we don't really talk about money. Our parents and that our background, we weren't having those conversations. So each day I try and reach one and teach one. And I think whenever somebody works with me, I encourage them to do the same.
Mm-hmm. So each one, teach one. So everybody should do that.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ms. Norma. I really appreciate featuring on the podcast. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode. See you next week's episode. If you enjoyed this episode, share your favorite part in the comments, tap the like button and subscribe to the channel. Your support is really appreciated. We'll keep working hard to bring you more valuable conversations.